Hi everyone, this is Mr. Lim from SEP Academy, and thank you so much for joining us in our interview and informative session to find out a little bit more about JC options for physics. And we're very honored to have with us Sam today. So Sam, tell us a little bit more about yourself.
Sean.
Sean. Okay, let's restart. Okay, Sam is my teacher. Okay.
I feel this
Hi everyone, this is Mr. Lim from SEP Academy. Thank you so much for joining us this. Hi everyone, this is Mr. Lim from SEP Academy. Thank you so much for joining us in this informative session where we learn a little bit more about physics. So we're very honored to have with us the head tutor for physics for H2 at Zenith Studios. So Sean, tell us a little bit more about yourself.
Alright, so basically I've been teaching physics actually all the way back in JC actually. So when I was in JC, I was part of a kind of like direct admission DSA class in Hwa Chong. So I would say there was a little bit of a difficulty to adjust to the difficulty and the rigor of the Hwa Chong syllabus. Yeah, so very luckily, since Sec 3, Sec 4, I was very interested in physics, so that helped me get a grasp of JC physics very, very quickly.
I see.
Yeah, so what I did for all my classmates and my friends was that after school, I would actually stay back, I would help them out with a couple of their questions, and I decided, you know what, this is actually something I might want to do for the long term. And then after I ended my A-levels, that's essentially what I started doing as I moved into NS, and then after NS as well, all the way into uni. Yeah.
I see. So I guess you've been teaching physics with a lot of interest. Since JC, it's really rare to find a teacher who understands physics so well, such that he was able to teach physics even at his JC while he was studying JC, and right now he's carrying it all the way, and he's helping students to understand physics better. So now we know that physics is quite an integral topic, like for some of the university courses. Can you enlighten us which which courses take physics as a prerequisite?
Right, so that's a very simple answer. So I'm gonna basically give you the acronym STEM, STEM. So science, technology, engineering, and math. All of these courses basically kind of require you to at least take H2 physics or chemistry. Yeah, so therefore H2 physics is actually a very, very integral part of choosing a large proportion of the university courses.
When you mentioned STEM, at the back of my mind, my M was, is it math or is it medicine? So probably let's discuss. So some students ask like PCME, BCME. Which one should we take if, let's say, I want to be a doctor, I want to take medicine?
Alright, that's actually a very interesting question, because for most students they might think, okay, bio is the logical choice if I want to go and study medicine. However, to get into medicine school, you only need chemistry, actually H2 chemistry. So you can choose either H2 physics or you can choose H2 bio. But my recommendation is obviously take H2 physics. Okay, why is that the case? Because H2 physics opens up a lot more doors. Like I said just now, okay, okay, redo that part.
Okay.
Yeah.
What was the question I asked? Like
PCME or BCME?
Yeah.
For medicine.
Medicine.
For medicine. Yeah.
That's a very interesting insight, but actually at the back of my mind I was thinking STEM, M for medicine. So I think some of our viewers, they are interested in taking medicine for a course for university. So then they submitted a question like, should I take PCME or BCME, since like bio and relate to medicine for their H2 combination?
Okay, that's actually a very, very good question, and actually I have a very good answer for that as well. So for most students who want to get into medicine, they think, okay, I should take bio because I'll be dealing with patients and that's a logical choice. But actually that's not true. The only prerequisite is H2 chemistry. So you can actually have a pick whether you want to take H2 physics or you want to take H2 bio. But I would obviously recommend physics because, like I said before, you basically have physics as a prerequisite for your S, T, E, and M courses in university. So that opens up a lot more doors So I have a few students who actually after A levels they went to take an internship with a hospital, and they decided that maybe medicine isn't what I want to do, and because they took physics they could very easily just go and divert into another course of their interest, for example maybe science, biological science as well, or engineering. Yeah.
So it seems like although bio is a very good choice, it seems like the logical choice for taking medicine, but the crux is chemistry is compulsory for submissions and entry into medicine. However, taking H2 physics does open the door to more opportunities. So now, another question that I would like to ask is like, since a lot of students who they actually struggle with physics at Set 3 and Set 4 level, and they find, hey, I don't really understand some of the electricity bits or induction, or like I have problem trying to find my Newton's third law and stuff. So can I just take H1 physics instead of going full steam into H2 physics?
Okay, so I have some very bad news for those who have problems with topics like forces, Newton's third law, second law, first law, as well as electricity, because these topics are both in H1 and H2, so there's no escape. There's absolutely no escape. So the difference between H1 and H2 is actually more in terms of the topics that weren't touched at all, actually, during Sec 3, Sec 4. So we're going very in-depth into topics like superposition, the superposition of waves, and into kind of like new age physics like quantum physics. Yeah, we learn a lot about the wave-particle duality, very interesting stuff. Yeah.
See a little bit of Einstein there, dual particle theory, and wave. Very interesting. So probably we understand a little bit at the academical level. So in terms of the rigor between H1 physics and H2 physics, so how much more content is there for H2 physics as compared to H1?
Right, that's actually a very good question. Whoa. So for okay, I lost track. Okay, again.
Whoa! Not expecting that.
I was wondering who that was.
Oh my god.
Again.
Okay, sorry, we are doing an interview
Yeah,
so
that's
it's
okay.
like
Come after 1 week and like, Alright, continue. My bad.
Okay. My question was H1 and H2.
Yeah, good.
Okay, I need to find my introduction. So now having understand a little bit better about H1 and H2, so can you tell us the differences, like in terms of the content? How much more content is there in H2 physics as compared to H1 physics?
Alright, okay, so for H2 physics is essentially almost double that of H1.
Wow.
Yeah, so there's a lot more to study. For example, the whole of thermodynamics, which is a huge topic. There's oscillations, waves, superposition, electromagnetic induction, as well as quantum physics. So it's actually a huge proportion of the syllabus that's not included in H1. However, don't let that fool you. It's actually not easier at all.
Why is that so? It seems like H1 is having less. Why do you say that it's not easier?
Yeah, so that's actually something very interesting. So when I was going through the H1 versus H2 papers with the students, I found that the H1 papers were way more in-depth and way harder as compared to the H2 syllabus.
Way more in-depth.
Correct.
That means they teach less, but they stretch students more.
Correct. The understanding that the students need for H1 is, I would say, at least 2 times more than for H2. So essentially you're studying basically less topics, but you have to go twice more in-depth, so in the end it becomes the same.
Is this something like Set 3, Set 4 when some students take combined science? They think, hey, we're doing less, we're studying less, but essentially combined science, you're studying about 90% of each chemistry and physics, for example, but you're only studying for 1 paper. Something like that?
Yeah, you could say that it's a very good comparison. So I would say the only kind of like compromise that you have is basically you take 2 less papers. That's about it. Yeah, so in my humble opinion, I really do not think that it's worth it to go and take H1 physics, because a lot of people think, okay, I study less, thus I don't need to commit as much, but actually that's not true. Yeah, H1 physics students, in my opinion, have to study way harder and have to understand the concepts way deeper. Yeah.
Seems like it's not an easy way out just to take H1 physics.
Yeah, there's no easy way.
But let's look at the other end of the spectrum, where we have students, very brainy viewers who are interested in H3 physics. So what is your take on that? Like, should let's say if I'm already very interested in physics, should I take H3? Is it very difficult to score?
I would say H3 physics is more into what you study in university. So based on my own experience, most students that take H3 basically get somewhat attached to a university where they kind of like partake in basically university experiments and projects and learn more about what you're doing in university in that aspect. Yeah, so it's actually very interesting.
Does this give me an additional edge if let's say I'm interested to apply for scholarships if I take a H3?
Okay, yeah, I mean, this is the obvious answer. So obviously, if you are looking for scholarships, then they would prioritize your academic achievements, and H3 looks absolutely amazing on a A-level cert. Yeah.
Well, my question is, well, if it's really amazing on the cert, is it going to be really, really tough as compared to H2? Is there going to be a jump there?
Yeah, there's a definite jump because there's not just additional content that you have to study, but actually projects that you have to partake in.
I see.
Yeah, so it's additional outside of your normal school time, which so you have to sacrifice some of your CCA time and your free time.
I
So,
guess
yeah.
for our viewers who are really interested in taking on scholarships, so I guess this is a point where you have to take note of, you have to invest the time and effort and do really well in one of the H3 subjects, and as well as for your interviews, and all the best for you. So I guess we also have some questions from our viewers, so we have submitted to us. So for example, like if I take PCME, Physics, Chem, Math and Econs, would there be more opportunities and university courses to choose rather than like further math, chemistry, econs, etc.?
Alright. Well, like I said just now, actually physics is actually more of a prerequisite than actually even math for a lot of courses, which is quite interesting. Yeah, so if you look through the list for, let's say, NUS, this is a very, very common university that most students want to go to in Singapore. You're just going to take a look through. Actually, a lot of the prerequisites is actually H2 physics. Yeah, so it's pretty interesting when most of them only require H1 math.
No wonder it still boils down to PCME being one of the more popular choices after several decades of being in our education system in Singapore.
Yeah, correct. Yeah, there must be a reason why it's the number one choice for most students.
Yeah, so I do have other questions. For example, like can I take triple science in JC as well, like physics, chem, math and bio? So because I really like that subject combination at Set 4. So is it going to be really intense?
From my understanding, I don't think so. You must have one contrasting subject, if I'm not wrong. So most people take econs as their contrasting subject. So sadly, you can only choose two. Yeah.
Okay, so everyone please take note there's a contrasting subject which we have to choose, and there's an additional question which is like, what do you think of hybrid combinations? For example, if I take econs and math and physics, so but instead of maybe like I want to take humans, so is it going to be very rigorous in terms of the amount of work I have to put in?
I would say that really boils down to basically what you want. Honestly, I can't be a judge as to what you should or should not take. Obviously, I came from PCME background. I really enjoyed that route, and based on my experience with my own friends and my own ex-students who basically took hybrid courses, that wasn't really a challenge for them because they did enjoy both their humanities side and their sciences side, and they managed to cope very, very well. Yeah.
Okay, so seems like although H2 physics does have a little bit more topics, but it is actually easier to score. So probably you can share with us like how did your students fare last year for your physics H2?
Alright. Okay. So basically, what I can give you all basically a brief outline of as to how the cohort did basically. So historically for H1 physics, and this might be very, very shocking because most people think it's easier, the H1 distinction rate for physics is actually 21%.
That's really low.
Yeah, 21 or 22%. It's absolutely horrible. But for H2 physics, that goes all the way up to 42, 43%. So actually what you notice is that if you take H2 physics, you are 2 times more likely to get an A, actually.
I see.
Yeah.
So I guess that's very good food for thought when you are making your subject combinations and choosing between H1 and H2 physics. Since it's not so daunting to take H2 physics now,
Yeah.
and it's probably easier for you to score, and with very very good tutors such as Sean, I'm very sure you'll be able to be on your path to secure your A for the A levels. So thank you so much, Sean, for this time,
Right,
and thank you so much our viewers for joining us, and we'll see you next